Are men capable to love women? Hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen. This topic is inspired by a man who presented his view on men when it came to loving women and being in loving, intimate relationships. Hi, this is Liana, Holistic Intimacy Coach. Welcome back to my channel. Here, I help you get your orgasmic intimacy. Now, this is a tough topic, so first of all, let me show you the video that sparked all of this.
In my entire life, of the thousands of men I have met, I have only met two men that I consider capable of forming a true love bond with a woman. And I only began counting myself within that number within the last 2 years. Given an hour talking to the vast majority of men, I could confirm that that man is not capable of forming a true love bond, and I will confirm that by asking that man questions about what love is. Men have no knowledge of what love is. This is how most men go about pursuing a long-term relationship. They are looking for a woman that they find very visually attractive. And then when they need to adapt to progress their relationship, their plan is to wing it. They may have in their head that as they need to adapt and make the relationship more loving, that the woman will instruct them how to become more loving, while not accounting for the fact they don't respect the opinions of women. Women, however, for the most part, are students of emotional dynamics in relationships. They follow celebrity relationships. They watch movies, TV shows. They read books about relationships. They play The Sims and emulate relationships. A woman is looking for the pleasure of a long-term loving bond with another human. Back when I was dating, every woman I dated said they'd never met a man like me before. And I consider that version of myself 1,000 times worse than the person I am today. But it was based on the simple fact that I was interacting with them like a real human being. I was not looking at them and trying to figure out how I get them to take their clothes off and have sex with me. It wasn't even in my mind. I had a genuine curiosity and fascination about who they were as a human, and they had never experienced that from a man before. For a man to be capable of a love bond, he must first be a good person. And I don't mean you have set yourself up with the image of a good person. I mean your thoughts must be the thoughts of a good person. So if you're at home watching porn that you wouldn't watch if your wife or girlfriend was in the room, you're not a good person. If you're chatting with girls on TikTok that you wouldn't chat with if your girlfriend or partner was in the room, you're not a good person. You must have empathy for what their feeling on the matter would be to protect the environment that love can grow in. Men will say that women nowadays don't deserve love because they want a man to be a certain height or have a certain amount of money, without asking why is that the requirement from the woman. These are the attributes of a man who might be capable of creating a safe and protective environment where love can grow. Above all else, a woman wants to feel true love in a relationship. If you show yourself capable of creating an environment where love can grow, everything else you think that woman is judging you about will fade away.
Some intense analysis, right? Right. Here are a few takes from me as an intimacy coach. And if you think that they are from the righteous perspective, I don't know what to tell you about that. I don't see it in a righteous way. I see it in the healthy way. And I see it in the way that we want to be fulfilled in intimacy. I think everybody wants that. So I have two main points of view, or two main points that I want to make here. Number one, because men have these higher sex drives, okay, higher testosterone, higher sex drive, it's a lot easier for them, sadly, to be played by their instincts. Not only do most women know this and actively do this, but a lot of the mainstream sexual revolution, which is around making us consume more, play men so much easier. If you want to take my point of view here, instead of encouraging women to develop themselves in sexuality and exploring in the best way possible for them, and instead of encouraging men to develop themselves emotionally, because I think the emotional spectrum adds more depth to your sexuality. That's the erotic, basically. It's your emotional spectrum, your internal world. The more you express it, the more you grow in it, the richer and the more beautiful your sexual expression can be. Of course, there are other factors at play, the education that you got there, the trauma that you had around sexuality, or the trauma that you witnessed around sexuality. Those are also contributing factors to somebody's downfall in sexuality, sadly. But again, I think men are easier to be played in their sexual instinct because they have so much drive there, and it is really difficult, especially when they're forming themselves, so in teenage years. It is really difficult for an adult to reach through to a young man. Their hormones are insane. Their brains are just not strong enough to handle the kind of drive that they have. You cannot reach through young men at that age. This is one of the reasons why I think, because in their early stages of sexual development, teenage years, it was so hard for adults to reach through to a young man. And it was so easy for young men to be played by what? By images, those really juicy images with, in many cases, unrealistic bodies. And in pornography, unrealistic performances, so unrealistic. And by the way, that mainstream pornography made by men for men. And who would know best how to play men in sex than other men? I've made other videos around here on the lessons of pornography, and I was mentioning a lot of documentaries on Netflix from the pornographic field. And in those videos, I also mentioned that the pornographers, so the ones that are producing this stuff, they would not allow their teenage kids to watch that stuff. I think that's a very big statement just right there. So from my perspective, that's one of the reasons why men are quote unquote incapable. That's what this guy said on TikTok anyway. It's because their early stages of sexual development, it was hard for them to be reached, basically. So a lot of the damage in this department is done in their teenage years, sadly. Some are lucky enough to wake up somehow, and some are lucky enough to meet women that inspire them to become better. It's really, really hard to have that combination. Some are lucky, both men and women, to meet people early on that are supportive and also inspirational or aspirational for them. But the majority of us do not see that. So it's easy for us to be played in both cases. Now we're talking just about men. The second thing, not enough wise or enlightened or just higher sexuality messages out there. It's not enough inspiration and aspiration. Most of the stuff that you see there, it's politically correct to say that you shouldn't judge. It is true. And I've got a lot of videos saying that. But truth be told, a lot of the sexual expression that you see in mainstream, from entertainment to conscious sexuality messages, some of the masculinity or femininity coaches, facilitators, muses out there, they're not really, they want to sell. They want to reach people with the easiest things. So they don't encourage true self-work, because true self-work takes a lot of effort, especially with all the environment that focuses on making it easier and easier and easier for you to consume. You got to understand that there's an economical model here that is playing us in some of the nastiest way possible. And in that sense, many coaches focus on what's easier. I see a lot of influential people out there, and they put all these stupid materials online. man, they really make it hard for people that want to grow to actually grow. It's pervasive. The easier stuff, it's just like food. I'm gonna make a comparison between sexuality and food. It's so much easier to find fast food, so much easier to find easy recipes, lazy recipes, than actually go for gourmet food and actually cooking yourself at home. Though it's much healthier and nothing compares to homemade food, for instance. In the sense of sexuality, nothing compares to when you're in the presence of somebody that has done enough work on themselves to know when they're good to go, how they're good to go, and to know when they're not good to go and not compromise. Yeah. And it is less frequent for men to want to understand, not in terms of how do I get to screw this woman faster, like this guy said on TikTok, but just to understand what is this woman about sexually? And am I truly a match with her? And is she truly a match with me? No, no, no. People don't seek to understand for compatibility reasons and to really assess, are we compatible or do we want to go separate ways? No, especially men, they want to understand, like this guy said, in order to score. So it's really, really difficult to bring a higher perspective here. And many people find that boring. Many people find that old school, like for old people. And that's also to our detriment. Just because of this lack of education, especially in the younger or earlier years for men in their sexual development, and just lack of interest, lack of offer, and lack of demand for genuine sexual growth. Because a lot of people focus on the surface stuff, the easy stuff, and that's it. Because of these two, the experiences on dating apps or any other dating market or dating life out there, nasty, really nasty. I'm one of the people that are not engaging with dating apps. Go figure. It is notoriously a men's world, dating apps, and there are less women on dating apps. This is also very true because most women have understood the high quality approach. Not that those guys couldn't approach better. It's just that in that environment, they tend to go for the most opportunistic approach ever. Score, 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 lay as much as possible. Good luck to you there. A lot of women want commitment long term. They want to be comfortable in a relationship so they can also explore. Yeah. And a lot of women seek, like classically, a lot of women seek a more heartfelt intimacy, a more, focused on what? On growth, on states rather than positions and toys and all of that. So a lot of women want the deep stuff. The Especially women that are on an evolutionary path, most of us on that path, we want sacred sexuality, tantric sexuality, but in the true sense, with one man, not with 100. And we don't want to share, I'll be honest. Not many women are honest about this. We don't want to freaking share our man with I don't know how many other women. I'm not going to talk about hygiene and health, reproductive health here, even energetically, because women that are on a sexual growth path and on a spiritual or personal evolutionary path, they understand that the more sexuality, because most people don't work their shadows, they don't even understand how deep the shadow goes. So they engage with so many others. They don't understand the dynamics of energetic exchange, including shadow exchange in intimacy. So yeah, the more partners a guy has, they tend to have more partners, the more chances that they have a lot of energetic residue they're not even aware of from all those partners. So a woman that is working on herself on an evolutionary path, she's not going to want to deal with not just their man's shadows, but who knows how many other women they've been in contact with shadows. It is true. Not a lot of women say that, but those are aspects that I think if we looked at them, and if guys genuine or more guys genuinely took it upon themselves to understand conscious sexuality, sacred sexuality, and purge their sexual shadow, discern and be highly selective with the women that they engage with. We don't, when we choose relationships, we still don't look at sexual compatibility in the proper way. That's, unless you go to sexual growth, and in this case, it would be one-on-one work with a coach, a therapist, to truly understand, hey, what am I about? What are the light aspects that I have for myself, not because of a blueprint or something else. No, 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 myself. And what are the shadow aspects that I have in my sexuality? And also couples. Okay, we want to get married, but what is this part of our lives? I mean, okay, socially, maybe we look good in society together in terms of status. Maybe we're wealthy, well positioned, well networked, well connected. Awesome, great. Maybe we've got a really elegant, fancy home. Great, awesome. What about what happens inside all of this packaging? Intimacy is a big part in relationships, especially for men because they have such high needs, especially for men. So really looking at this, very few men do it. Too, I've even had men approaching me for coaching, and when I gave them for just one session, when I gave them the steps, a lot of them would say, too complicated. I'm like, dude, what do you expect? How do you want to show up in it? If working on yourself, even for just one session, is too complicated, then man, I pity the woman that is going to marry you or spend more time with you. If you can't show up for yourself and truly understand yourself, then what do you expect to be like in a relationship? How do you expect it for the woman next to you to feel? How do you expect her experience to be? So, what this guy said, yeah, I tend to agree with him, though I'm not a man, but I just look at it from a coaching perspective. And it is, again, let me recap here. In our sexual development years, especially for men, it's so hard to reach them with the healthy stuff, and it's so easy for them to go astray. Most do. Then it's so hard for people to get truly constructive approaches. And because they've gone on a wrong path, it takes a really higher effort for a man in his 20s or 30s or 40s to start to, okay, where's my shadow? How do I understand what I want? How do I stick for the long run to work on this, to really transform myself? And then, yeah, what is my approach to sexual compatibility? Because that's also important. How is the woman that I'm interested in, what does she value and what does she understand about sexuality? What do I value and what do I understand when it comes to fulfilling sexuality? Do we meet or not? So, not manipulating somebody into being with us, but truly seeking and working on the compatibility. There's no easy way if you want to make the high quality stuff. And I think that kind of approach is getting more and more unpopular. Although the people that truly want the best for themselves, they will make that effort. It's true that there are not that many, and that's why I applaud, especially the men that actually start to work on themselves. I believe that those men are winners over long periods of time. Over long periods of time, when you truly work on yourself, your sex life can become better. Your intimate relationship with the woman that you want can become better. That's my take on it. So, guys, I do believe in you. I think it's harder for you to be capable, but I think you are capable. Just, it takes more work. The easiest way to get at least a bit more understanding is my book, my coaching book. get your orgasmic intimacy, or try out individually coaching with me and see what it does for you. At least one session. You'll get an idea if it's helpful for you or not. But try it out nonetheless. All right, I'll look forward for your comments and I'll see you in other videos. Bye.